Welcome to vpod.ai and to a new deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that, well, it defines modern existence really, cybersecurity and privacy, especially looking ahead, towards 2026 and beyond. What we want to do today is help shift your fundamental mindset because it's not just about dodging viruses anymore. It's really about actively understanding and defending yourself against, well, massive data collection, whether that's corporations or government overreach.
Yeah, that mindset shift is so important. The whole conversation has changed, hasn't it? Security and privacy. They used to feel like the same goal, but now they're often pulling in different directions. We need to look at where that tension lies.
Exactly. Where does getting more security mean giving up some anonymity? And why is that happening? We'll be navigating that tension. We'll cover everything from the philosophy behind choosing a password manager, why naming your Wi-Fi something unique is actually a security thing, and how AI is making scams, particularly social engineering, scarily effective. And just quickly, this deep dive is sponsored by Stonefly. They're leaders in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions. If you're looking for secure, maybe ransomware-proof storage, Stonefly offers air-gapped and immutable storage options. You can reach them at sales@stonefly.com.
Okay, let's jump right into that big picture. This conflict between security and privacy. What are some key indicators showing that, government corporate control is actually expanding?
Well, expansion often comes disguised as convenience, right? A really clear example is the potential digital ID mandate in the UK. Reports suggest it was pushed through pretty quickly, maybe without full parliamentary debate. And that shows a pattern we see again and again. Government access to our personal data can just balloon almost overnight. It puts regular people constantly on the defensive. And the tools we use every single day seem to capture this divergence perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. Take your antivirus software or even Windows itself. For an antivirus to work well, it needs basically total unrestricted access to everything on your machine.
Everything.
Pretty much. And Windows, it collects huge amounts of telemetry, user data. Now, with the upcoming Windows 25 H2 update bringing in controversial AI features like that recall thing.
Yeah, I've read about recall. It snapshots your screen constantly.
That's the idea. So the analysis we've seen suggests that people who are really serious about privacy might soon face a tough choice. Either ditch Windows for something like Linux or BSD, or just accept that using a mainstream OS means paying a pretty significant privacy price.
So the takeaway is that convenience and privacy are kind of pulling against each other now. We have to consciously decide, tool by tool, which one we're prioritizing. And I guess, accept that 100% security isn't real, and even the best software can't protect you if you make a bad click, still boils down to the human element.
Right. The problem between keyboard and chair, as they say. And that brings us back to basics. It sounds boring, I know, but the data shows ridiculously weak passwords, like ABC123, are still incredibly common in data breaches.
Okay, let's get tactical then. Passwords and two-factor authentication, 2FA. These are just table stakes now, non-negotiable. So when we look at password managers, what are the different, maybe, trust models involved?
Yeah, the choice of manager really reflects how much control versus convenience you want. There are sort of three main types highlighted. First, you've got KeePass. It's hosted locally on your own machine. It's free, maximum control.
But the catch?
The catch is you are 100% responsible for security. You have to manage it. You have to encrypt your own backups of that password database file.
Yeah.
If you lose that file or forget the password, you're done. Game over.
Right. Puts all the weight on you. What about options that give you cloud convenience but still aim for high security?
Okay, so that leads to Bitwarden. It's cloud hosted, but it's open source, which builds trust. And the premium features are really cheap, like $10 a year, generally seen as a solid, transparent option.
And the third type.
Then there's OnePass. This one's closed source, costs a bit more, maybe around $40 a year. The really critical thing with OnePass is this secret key. If you lose that key, even if you remember your main password, you are locked out forever, unless maybe you're already logged in somewhere else. It's a very strict system.
Okay, moving on to 2FA. The advice seems to be shifting strongly away from using SMS, text messages for codes. But isn't SMS still better than, no 2FA at all?
It is better than nothing, technically. But the risk level is just getting too high, especially if you have anything valuable online, bank accounts, crypto, important email.
Why? What's the big risk?
It's the SIM swap attack. A motivated attacker can actually trick your mobile phone provider, convince them they're you, and get your phone number transferred to their SIM card. Yeah. And since that number is linked to resetting passwords or getting 2FA codes for almost everything, They suddenly get access to all your accounts that rely only on those text codes. It completely bypasses the security.
Okay, so that's terrifying. The solution then is time-based, one-time password apps, the TOTT apps. Which ones are recommended?
Right. For Android users, Aegis is a strong recommendation. If you need something that works on both Android and iOS, there's 2FAS. Just be aware 2FAS backs up your secret seeds to the big tech clouds like iCloud or Google Drive.
Which some people might not be comfortable with.
Exactly. So if you want cloud backup but want to keep it separate from Google or Apple, Anti-Authenticator is an option. It uses its own independent cloud system.
And the analysis specifically warned against Authy.
Yeah, the reasoning given was that they stopped supporting their desktop application. That kind of move can suggest, maybe, a lack of long-term commitment to platform support, which is exactly what you don't want from a tool holding the keys to your kingdom, so to speak.
Okay, so we've covered personal habits, password managers, 2FA. Let's broaden out to the network itself. You mentioned Wi-Fi names earlier, SSIDs, that example, FBI van. Why is even a funny name like that a bad idea from a security perspective?
Yeah, it seems harmless, right? But it boils down to something called rainbow tables. See, your network name, the SSID, it's used as part of the calculation, technically assault, when hashing your Wi-Fi password.
Okay.
So if you use a really common SSID like Linksys, Netgear, or even FBI van, because it's a known joke, attackers likely already have pre-computed tables of password hashes specifically for that SSID.
Meaning they don't have to do the heavy lifting of cracking the hash from scratch?
Precisely. They can just look it up much faster. It drastically speeds up the cracking process and can potentially let them bypass even a fairly strong password just because the SSID was common. So rule 1, pick a unique SSID. Don't use defaults or common jokes.
Good tip. What's another critical network defense for home users that often gets missed?
Network segmentation. This is huge. You absolutely should not have all your devices on the same flat network. Your important work laptop, the one with sensitive data, should not be on the same network segment as your, say, smart fridge, or that cheap IoT security camera you bought online, or even a smart washing machine.
Why not?
Because those IoT devices are notoriously insecure. They get compromised all the time. If an attacker gets into your smart fridge and it's on the same network as your laptop, they can potentially pivot from the fridge straight to your sensitive files. Segmentation creates firewalls between device types.
Makes total sense. Keep the insecure stuff isolated from the important stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you want to get more advanced and your router hardware supports it, you could look into running something like OpenSense or pfSense software. That lets you set up proper intrusion prevention or detection systems and IPS or IDS, acting like a guard dog for your whole network.
Okay, let's swing back to the human factor again. Social engineering. Identified as maybe the #1 threat now, and AI is just pouring fuel on that fire, making scams incredibly personalized and convincing. What specific cognitive biases are being exploited?
Yeah, AI is making this much harder. The analysis highlights 2 main biases. First is consistency bias. Scammers use these hyper-personalized pleas, often crafted by AI, to sound urgent or emotional to get you to act in a way that's consistent with how you see yourself.
How does that work?
Well, if you think of yourself as a helpful, kind person, they'll hit you with a story designed to trigger that helpfulness, making you feel compelled to wire money or click a malicious link, because not doing so would feel inconsistent with your identity.
Ah, clever. Manipulative, but clever. What's the second bias?
The sunk cost fallacy. This is the trap that keeps people hooked even when red flags are popping up. Victims keep investing time, or sometimes more money, because they've already put something in, and they desperately want to believe it wasn't a waste, that a positive outcome is still possible.
That sounds heartbreaking.
It really is.
Yeah.
The example given was job recruiting scams. Victims get asked to send maybe $100 for processing, then another $100 for shipping a promised company laptop. They keep paying because they're already invested, emotionally and financially, digging themselves deeper and deeper.
And the sophistication is increasing. These aren't just Nigerian prince emails anymore. Those long game examples are chilling.
Absolutely. That fake TechCrunch example. The scammers spent time building a seemingly professional relationship over email about a non-existent article. Only then did they send the weaponized link, a fake Google Calendar invite that fished for Twitter login credentials.
Giving them full account access.
Yep. Months of patient setup for the final attack. And the other one, the malicious game scenario, is a huge warning about software supply chains.
Tell me about that one.
A scammer got into a fundraising group, befriended someone, and convinced them to download what looked like a totally normal game on Steam called Block Blasters. The initial version was probably clean, but months later, the attacker pushed out a malicious update to the game.
An update?
Yeah, and that update contained malware that stole $32,000 from the victim's crypto wallet. It shows that software you might have trusted initially can be turned into a weapon later on. Trust needs to be ongoing, not just a one-time check.
Okay, so the threats are sophisticated. Let's talk about more advanced layered defenses. Data backups and VPNs seem crucial here, starting with backups.
You absolutely need backups. The standard rule is the 3-2-1 rule. That's 3 copies of your important data on 2 different local media types, say your computer's drive and an external drive, and at least 1 copy off-site, like in the cloud.
But there's a catch with cloud storage.
A big one. If you're using services like Google Drive or Dropbox for that off-site copy, you must encrypt your files before you upload them. Use software like Cryptomator locally first.
Why is that so important?
Because their terms of service generally allow them to scan everything you upload if it's not encrypted. They can analyze it for data mining, for AI training, or even report content they deem inappropriate. Local encryption beforehand is the only way to guarantee your privacy on those platforms.
Got it. Encrypt first, then upload. What about VPNs? They seem essential for privacy.
They add a layer of privacy, yes, but it's important to remember they don't generally provide true anonymity. They're great for masking your IP from websites and securing your connection on untrusted networks, like public Wi-Fi. But choosing a provider matters.
Which ones are recommended?
Based on the analysis, the focus is narrow. iVPN, MOLVD, and Proton VPN. It was noted that Proton is apparently working on adding Monero support for payments, which is interesting. It shows a real commitment to privacy by allowing payment without traditional banking trails.
Even with a good VPN, I hear there are ways your real IP address can still leak out.
Yes, that's a risk. The most common culprit is WebRTC. It's a technology built into most browsers for real-time stuff, like video calls, think Jitsi or Google Meet. The problem is, WebRTC sometimes bypasses the VPN tunnel to make direct connections, and that can leak your real IP.
So how do you stop that?
If you use Chrome or Firefox, you generally need to go into the settings or use an extension to proactively disable or block WebRTC. Some browsers built with privacy in mind, like Brave, the Mullvad browser, or LibreWolf, often have it disabled by default, which is safer.
Okay. And one more warning, this one about full disk encryption like BitLocker in Windows?
Yeah, this is critical.
Yeah.
Encryption is vital, non-negotiable really for protecting data at rest. But you have to understand how it works. If you use something like BitLocker and then you, say, mess with your computer's BIOS settings or secure boot configuration, you might trigger the recovery mode. If you've lost that long BitLocker recovery key, that data is gone forever. No backdoor, no recovery possible. So encryption is powerful, but it comes with serious responsibility. You must securely back up those recovery keys somewhere safe, separate from the encrypted device itself.
Right. Powerful tool, handle with care. Okay, let's wrap up with digital communication. The analysis seems pretty down on traditional email providers like Gmail, Outlook, AOL.
Yeah, it's blunt. They're not considered secure or private environments. Providers routinely scan emails. Google explicitly uses Gmail content to train its AI models. It's just part of their business model.
So for private communication?
The recommendation is to move to end-to-end encrypted email services. The main ones suggested are Proton Mail and Tutanota. They're built with privacy as the core principle.
What about spotting fake emails, spoofed emails, any quick checks?
Yes. If you get a suspicious email, especially one asking for sensitive info or urging you to click a link, look at the email headers if you can, or see if your email client flags anything. Legitimate senders should have 3 key things configured for their domain: SPF, DKIM, and DRNRs.
SPF, DKIM, DMRC, what do they do, briefly?
Okay, SPF, Sender Policy Framework, lists which servers are allowed to send email for that domain. DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail, adds a digital signature to prove the email hasn't been tampered with. And DMRC tells receiving servers what to do if SPF or DKIM checks fail, like rejects the email or mark it as spam. If an email fails these checks, it's highly likely to be spoofed.
Good technical flags to look for, and for instant messaging.
Encrypted apps are the way to go. Signal is often held up as the gold standard. It needs more people to use it to be truly effective network-wise, but it has useful features like safety numbers.
Safety numbers. What's that?
It's a way to verify your contact's identity hasn't been compromised. If your contact's safety number suddenly changes, it could just mean they reinstalled the app. Or, critically, it could be a warning sign that someone else has taken over their phone number, maybe through a SIM swap, and registered Signal on a new device. It prompts you to verify with them through another channel if possible.
Smart. Okay, last area, web browsers. What are the top picks for privacy and security?
The recommendations lean towards browsers that are either hardened or privacy-focused by default. Firefox can be good, but you really need to harden it yourself. Adding extensions like uBlock Origin is essential to block trackers and malware.
And the best out-of-the-box options?
The top choices mentioned are the Mullvad browser, developed by the VPN provider, and LibreWolf, a community fork of Firefox. These come pre-configured to strip out a lot of the telemetry and fingerprinting capabilities that are often enabled by default in mainstream browsers like Chrome or even standard Firefox. Brave browser also gets a mention for its built-in blocking.
So, looking back at everything we've covered, it's clear that defense has to be really multi-layered now. And ultimately, the user, you, the listener, is still the most critical piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And if you connect all these dots, you see this really interesting core tension emerging. You have big corporations and governments who rely heavily on strong encryption to protect their own sensitive data banking systems, intellectual property, state secrets. Yet at the same time, there's often a push from those same entities to limit or put backdoors into the strong end-to-end encryption available to ordinary citizens.
That's a really important point.
It really makes you ask, why is encryption considered absolutely essential for the powerful, but often framed as suspicious or even nefarious when used by individuals to protect their own privacy?
Definitely something for all of us to think about as we try to navigate this complex digital world. If you want to dig deeper, maybe check out VirusTotal for scanning suspicious files or links. Look up the list of cognitive biases at yourbias.is, or read books like Sandworm about nation-state cyber attacks, or The Puzzle Palace about the history of the NSA. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope you feel a bit more prepared, or at least more aware of the digital challenges we're all facing.